Okay, we're getting close to being done. This is the vintage dash. Vintage dashes. It's a replacement dash pad for the 280Z. It's completely formed with new foam rubber and new plastic coating and all that kind of stuff. The fitment on is perfect. Is pretty good. Not perfect. I mean, you have to work it a little bit. Of course, the factory original may have been the same way. I don't know. A couple of things I did notice that you have to be aware of. The only thing I really got into an issue with was really, I think that these dash setbacks should go a little bit further back. As it is, it's really just barely enough to get the job done. They're barely in there. In fact, I had to put a little bit of foam backing tape. Let's see if that'll show up behind these brackets. See, there's a piece there you can see. Because I had to push the things as far forward as humanly possible to get them to fully seat and not show gaps around the edges. The glove door is a kind of a pain. Got to really work on that. And part of the problem with that is, let me show you. Around the perimeter of the door, let me get the heck. Now, let me just hold on. Doing damage. The edges here around the door, the plastic underneath it is too thick. In other words, it's the original dash, the only thickness was the actual plastic itself. There was no foam underlayment. On the new dash, it has a little bit of foam, which makes the lip here a little too thick, which makes getting these screws to engage the little screw and brackets very difficult. I ended up digging out the foam and trying to just leave the plastic to get that thinner so that would work. That was kind of a pain in the rear. On mine, the metal bracket that goes behind this cigarette lighter was offset a little bit, and so a hard point on the other side. Let's see if I can show that. Hold on. I'm going to destroy it just showing it off. Let's get this thing flipped over. I don't know how well this is going to show. I had to drill, I think it was this hole or that hole up there. I think it was the hole that holds the dash in way up in there. You're probably not going to be able to see my fingers pointing. No, you're not. Anyway, that hole's off, so I think it's the way there's a metal piece that's embedded in the foam was twisted a little bit, so that wasn't exactly perfect. I had to drill a new hole to make that work. While you're going through this, I would recommend, I put plastic electrical tape around all these plastic connectors to help these hoses stay on because they had just gotten loose with age. I'm going to do the same to the vent finisher here. So I'm going to wrap plastic tape around the edges to make that seal a little bit better. I highly recommend you get all your ductwork nice and tight, you know, before you put it together, because it's going to be a pain to do if you wait till afterwards. But other than that, I'd say if it wasn't for I struggled with that glove door. If it wasn't for the struggle of that glove door, I'd say this is about a 6 on the difficulty level. You know, being 10, but being a real pain in the rear. It's probably elevated it to about a 7.5 because of all the work I had to do to get the glove door to work. Again, it was here. Let me show you over here a better example, maybe. Right here on the original, see this right here? This lip is just plastic. There's nothing behind it at all. This is just plastic all the way around. Now on the vintage dashes, and this is too, it's all plastic. On the vintage dashes, all of this outlying plastic has a thin layer of foam. And the problem with that is the screws that go in to hold this stuff are just barely long enough to engage, and you add a extra, you know, even a 1/16 of an inch there, and it becomes a problem. So I would recommend you go through and scrape off the foam before you get as far along as I did along this whole exposed area. Compare your dash when you take it off, of course, and confirm yours the same way. But like I said, mine, this is just pure plastic here, no foam at all. The foam is here, and the foam is on the outside, but this whole dash area should be just plastic. No extra thickness there, because that makes it a real battle. And the other thing, like I was described before, is this thickness here on the vintage dashes. I think that should be a little bit wider, because I didn't measure it, but it seemed like I had a problem getting the dash, the gauge cluster to come up far enough to not show any of the opening. Anyway, that was what I thought with. All I got to do now is the final button up of those. Oh, I also test fitted my instrument finisher. You want to make sure you do that with it off. That's this thing right here. Make sure it's going to fit in there and looks good. If you have to tweak those little mounting brackets, now's a good time to do it with it all out and loose. I did that. Everything's fine. So all I have left to do is reinstall that, and then theoretically put it in the car. You know, wish me luck. We'll see how it goes. More later.